the World Baseball Classic, the Americans choked on the Italians' prodigious Stromboli, but they still advanced to beat Canada in the quarterfinals. The big question, can the Americans rally, get it together, and win it all? President Trump has a war going on, a challenging economy, and a hostile media. But does he still have time to save college sports? He says he does. Iran is threatening everyone, including FIFA. Will they play in the World Cup or not? Hey, enough of the circle jerk. Make a decision already. And March Madness begins next week, and the gamblers are storming the betting castles to the tune of better than $3 billion. After further review, it's Angry Old Guys talking sports and stuff. Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Watson, and I'm on assignment in a basement in Bozeman, Montana. The guy in the 2 box, of course, you remember him from last week, and I understand that he has a new pickup line, which is, would you like to escort my tanker through your Strait of Hormuz? It is Pete Weissner. We just call him the Professor.
It's funny you mentioned the Strait of Hormuz because I'm watching Oil America, otherwise known as Venezuela, playing Japan out of the corner of my eye. Hello, Jim. Greetings to Bozeman, right? You were in.
I was in Big Sky, Montana. Big Sky, Montana, America's best ski resort. Don't tell anybody. There's already too many tourists there. It's unbelievable. Yeah, it was wonderful. Do it every year. Normally in the 3 box would be our producer and reporter, our technical director, the multi-award winning Tom Catlin, but he couldn't get his camera up. So apparently we're just going to hear his voice, which I think is more than enough anyway, Pete. Tommy, congratulations. I know you've broken out your Geno Smith Jets jersey from 2013. It's back in style.
I'm a Jets and Raiders fan, so the Raiders unload their trash to the Jets.
You don't have to pick the two worst teams in the NFL. You can pick a good one. So
self-flagellation.
All right, let's get right to the World Baseball Classic. Let's talk about what the Americans have done. So the Americans.
Oh, I think you forgot the most important part: the legalese.
Oh, the disclaimer.
And I worked on this.
Yeah, you got to do the disclaimer. That's right. That's right. Sorry, I'm on mountain time. I'm a little tired. Yes, let's do the disclaimer. Sorry, I did scoop it. Yeah, the disclaimer: the views expressed on this podcast by the host are mine alone and don't reflect the views or beliefs of my wife and children, who are decent and honorable people who are also forced to suffer my existence. Signed, Waddy's wife, and that's Jessica Rabbit, isn't it?
The second appearance of Jessica Rabbit, and because we're going to talk about hookers later, if you Google animated strippers, Jessica comes up, among other things.
Is that right?
Yeah.
It's funny. That would never occur to me. I'm not sure why it did to you.
I think you are sure.
All right, let's get now to the World Baseball Classic. Pete, I know you've been glued to the TV. You're watching Oil America, Venezuela play Japan right now, which is a great game. And either one of those teams could end up winning it, but we'll get deeper into team by team. But of course, the big story for us is the Americans. So Americans are loaded. They were picked number 1. Everybody thought that they would maybe not walk through this tournament, but they were the favorites to win it. And then they got rolled by Italy in pool play, and then had to wait for the Italians to beat the Mexicans just to advance, or it could have been one of the greatest disappointments ever. So first off, your reaction to how the Americans have approached this. To me, Pete, they came in, they're taking it more like an all-star game than what it is. This is a World Baseball Classic.
I think we've had bigger buy-in. This is the 6-1, Jim, since 2006. I think we've had bigger buy-in than ever before. I mean, who are the superstars in the Americans game? There's top players are Skeens. Well, Shohei, but he plays for Japan. Skeens, Bobby Witt Jr., Aaron Judge. They're all playing. Cal Raleigh, who arguably could have been the MVP. They're all playing. If there's one area, and it showed in the Italian game, where we maybe didn't bring our best. It's like middle relief, right? Or even closers. They got Mason Miller, but we probably could use another closer. So the critics say, and there's been so many criticisms of America, the coach, having Robert O'Neill address the troops. Even, I mean, it's been unbelievable. Is that there's still not 100% buy-in on the roster, and all these other teams certainly they seem like they have. But I think for every team, you just watch the players, the intensity. I've never seen. I just watched Ohtani let off the game with a homer in this game, Venezuela and Japan. I've never seen him show so much emotion. So it's great to see, and I think our guys are too. Maybe we need just a little more buy-in. Scooble had to go home. Our other ace, that's not good.
All right, Pete, I got to jump in because you've used our 11 times in that first response. What number are you for the U.S. baseball team? I don't have you on my roster. Am I missing something? You're a journalist, Pete. It's the Americans. It's not our and we. You have nothing to do with this. They don't know you exist, and if they did, they would call the authorities. This is the way it works in professional sports. Don't add up to someone. I know Coast Guy originally, and you do the we and the our, and we've got a thing, and it's not. And listen, you heard my jihad on brothers and family instead of teammates, right? And coaches. Stop it. Just stop that stuff. We're going to break you of that bad habit. You mentioned the
I'm rooting
Americans
equally
and
for
Mark
Oil
DeRosa,
America because we.
Mark DeRosa, the head coach, he kind of came in as he made a bad statement early. Hey, we've already qualified for the quarterfinals. He was wrong on that. You had players coming in for the first 2 games and then returning to spring training. Listen, they made all the right statements at the outset, how important this was. They have not walked the walk, Pete. I've been really disappointed with these guys. Aaron Judge has, I think, one more hit than I do. Right?
Yeah, they haven't hit in the clutch.
Captain.
Absolutely.
He gave a terrible speech. Then he's not delivering at the plate. The offense has been limping along, and they were lucky to get out of pool play. So what's the problem? Why aren't these guys taking it seriously?
Jim, I have to say, all right, the American team, arm's distance, they are absolutely taking it seriously. I think they may almost be taking it too seriously. There is tremendous pressure on that American team. They came in as the favorites. We're the home team. We did have big, all our superstars are playing. So there's a lot of, and then, you have our media, which has just jumped all over them. And we're, come
Tommy,
on, Jim,
did you
we're
hear
not
that? He fell right back into it, Tom. Did you hear it?
I heard it. All right.
Whoopsie.
The Americans are at a physical disadvantage, right, because of where this comes on the timeline. Some of these guys played, a week and a half, 2 weeks in spring training? Jim, come on. The others, they're more fit. There's a reason DeRosa, the much maligned of Team America, the much maligned manager, had them taking so many pitchers in the first couple of games against inferior opponents because they have to get in shape. So I think they started a little behind the 8 ball. There's a lot, but they are playing tight. Can I read real quick? I don't mean to ramble. This is a really good tweet by Cameron Maben. Tommy, you might remember, I think maybe from your time in the Padres.
A mighty Padre. Yeah. Fine defensive player.
Go for it. I read this. This is great, Pete. Read it.
It's great. He's got a decent social media presence, which I now know. Still rooting for Team USA, but damn, these games have been boring as hell to watch. Save me this is the American way to play the game speech. As a former big leaguer, you hear all the time ad nauseum, we play a kid's game. Well, damn, act like it. Have some fun. I completely agree. The DR, Venezuela, Japan, Mexico, Puerto Rico, these boys are playing with real juice, and you can feel it through the TV. Right now, Team USA looks like dry as hell. I'm talking somebody just ate a whole pack of saltine crackers in the desert with no water in sight. Still rocking with the boys, but somebody bring that Adam Jones 2017 energy, the one time the USA won it. I think he's right on. I think they're playing tight, Jim.
Yeah, I agree with Cameron Maven. I agree with you on this. But listen, I can't let you get away with it. They're not in shape excuse. I'm sorry. These are professional athletes in their 20s. What? They laid on the couch for 2 months eating Girl Scout cookies like me, and then all of a sudden they've forgotten how to play baseball. You know what? They were invited to play this thing. They should have gotten in shape 3 weeks ago, start running at the local high school, get in the batting cage, maybe show up at spring training a week early and get your cuts in. The other teams, these other teams are filled with major Pete. They're supposed to be in spring training. Why are they in shape? These are the same guys. All these guys play in Major League Baseball. Look at the Japanese roster. Look at the Dominican Republic. All of these guys play for major league teams. Why are they in shape and our guys are walking around with their bellies hanging out? What's wrong with us? Us.
There's rules. The Dominicans have a winter league. Jim, baseball's different. You know, just watching all these years watching baseball, how many guys, really good players, you know, they always have bad Aprils, right? I'm just, that's one factor, I think, and you can see it. We're not the Americans are not hitting, and that's like that's sort of the last thing to come around. You're killing me. Whose side are you on?
Let's not treat it like it's football. It's baseball. Sometimes the better team doesn't win in baseball. They have one loss, and there's panic in the streets.
So let me just clear this up. So Pete, if I take one of your classes and it's a 90-minute class, I don't need to show up for the first 15 minutes because you're not in shape yet, right? I can be 15, 20 minutes late, get to the good stuff at that point. Is that how it works?
Were they supposed to roll? I mean, really the biggest upshot of this whole thing is how, I mean, Italy's undefeated. Just like you said last week, right? About one of the best things about the U.S. losing in 72 in basketball is that the rest of the world was now going to take up the game. It was going to be more competitive. And it's been the greatest thing to happen to basketball. Baseball's on a little bit of a roll here now, right? The WBC is getting great ratings. Major League Baseball attendance is up, all that. And you have, I mentioned Italy, but geez, Dominican Republic, Japan, Venezuela, they're stacked. These are good teams. So we lost the game to Italy. We out-hit them by 2-1. Couple of bad fielding plays. Our middle relief shortcomings showed up. One game.
So listen, here's the 5 teams that are left, okay? United States, underwhelming, right? With a rotating lineup. Aaron Judge, same number of hits as I had through the first 4 games. Japan, defending champions, 3-time winners. Otani, Murakami, Yoshida, best domestic league outside of America. Venezuela, also known as Oil America, where baseball is more popular than soccer. People don't realize that in Latin America, in Venezuela, and according to AOC, it's below the equator, but in reality, it's actually above. It's at the bottom of the Caribbean. Maybe in bartending school, they didn't have geography. But listen, Venezuela has a solid lineup. Their problem had been depth, but it's apparently not showing up tonight because Japan, last you gave us, they were leading in the 6th inning. But they have the toughest road to win it because their last 3 games are going to be against teams that are ranked above them. You mentioned Italy, 5-0 so far after winning, and we're taping this during the second quarterfinals on Saturday night. So 5-0 after they upset the United States. Then they won again, mostly American-born big leaguers. Remember, Italy, 3 guys that are actually born in Italy. So, you know, they'll have Italian descent, but we played this game before. But here's the Dominicans, because this is my team. The Dominicans, Tatis, Marte, Soto, Guerrero, Machado, Caminero, J-Rod. They're all top shelf major league players, and they want to win this thing. The DR to me is loaded, Pete. So when this thing's all over, who's having the mosh pit on the mound? My pick, the Dominican Republic.
Their number 9 hitter, by the way, Perdomo, was 5th in number 9 hitter, was 5th in the MVP voting last year. Had 100 RBIs, plays for the Diamondbacks. I'm still going with the Americans. One of the oldest adages about baseball, Jim, pitching wins, right? You got Paul Skeens going on Sunday. Paul Skeens, not only is he going on Sunday, the batting at that great lineup you just mentioned of the DR, the batting average of all those guys combined against Paul Skeens is 130. Not the hugest sample, right? How often does Pittsburgh play? Some of, but so I think Skeens gets us through, gets the Americans through, and then we'll see. I guess they're bringing in the guy Ryan from Minnesota maybe to start the final game. Starting pitcher.
And took Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw's off the active roster. They didn't get him in pool play. They didn't get him in the quarterfinal against Canada. So Kershaw will be there in spirit, but he can't play because he's deactivated. Here's the
would have been a good story if they got him in.
we're gonna move on. The DR has outscored its opponents 51-10 and hit 14 home runs. So yeah, you can eat that on what is it, Sunday night? Sunday night, 9 o'clock.
They have 4
in
more
Miami,
runs
United
average
States,
than every other team.
against the DR. And you mentioned this before, Pete. In the last game, the Americans brought in, for a pep talk, they brought in Robert O'Neill. A lot of Americans, they might not recognize the name, or they do, and they say, I forget what he did. We should never forget his name, because he's the SEAL Team 6 member, second up the stairs, who shot Osama bin Laden in the face. And just so everybody ties it together, I'm sitting in Bozeman, Montana, and Robert O'Neill is from Butte, Montana. So he's a statewide hero here, and he should be a national hero. But he came in and gave those guys a pep talk, and it they went out and they beat Canada, but it's Canada, and they limped through to beat them 5-3. They tried to give it away late in the game. So they need to light a sterno underneath these guys and get them. They just don't seem that interested in it. And I think a lot of guys are distracted with the big league season. But again, I just read you the Dominican Republic lineup. They're all major leaguers. Why are they ready to play right now? I don't mean to keep going over the same ground, but that's how it is. So you're going to go with the Americans. I picked the Dominican Republic.
We got that sound.
Keep in mind, the Americans have
Robert
only
O'Neill.
won it once. You got some sound, Tommy?
Yeah, you want to hear that pep talk?
Sure.
Guy in the room,
It's a little bit of it.
Helicopter crash. Said, helicopter crash. Now I go, oh my God, what helicopter crash? I assume we had more coming to help us. He said, bro, our helicopter crashed in the front yard. You probably walked right past. All right, that makes sense. As we're saying this, it's starting to register. The sniper who was outside with the dog, he's going around the compound twice. He didn't know they crashed either, so he got to the point where the pilot pinned it to the wall. He sees it, gets on the radio, and says, guys inside, be on alert. Okay, they're definitely ready for us. They have a training mock-up of our super secret helicopter in their front yard. So the boss came on and goes, no, jackass, that's ours because we crashed. And the sniper goes, yeah, that makes a lot more sense than the shit I was just saying. And another important thing, yeah, it's a fucked up shit, let's get over it.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I've actually heard him speak for my wife. Met him at an event one time, and he got criticized by the other SEAL Team 6 guys. Said, hey, it was all of us, and you shouldn't have, told people who you were. You should have stayed behind the shield. We just do our job and then go home. I don't have a problem with him doing it. He's a real American. He's out now. I actually think it's good. I think it's inspired people. They meet him now. He's speaking at big events, so people know who he is. Make him a hero. Why not? We did it in World War II, right? We've made movies about all of these guys. We promoted them as individuals, as part of a bigger core.
Buddy Murphy.
You mentioned this before, and this is yeah, very, very good. This is where we'll close out the baseball talk. The NFL has been trying to export CTE to the rest of the world for years now. But when I look at baseball is the world's second most popular sport. It's the only thing that can challenge soccer. You look at Latin America, you look at countries with no resources. Doesn't baseball have a much better chance of becoming the next world's game than football, American football?
Like I said, I think baseball is experiencing a resurgence. I think the rule changes we made here have helped, but also you didn't need a resurgence. When you watch, that's a great thing about the World Baseball Classic. You watch the games in the Dominican Republic, right? Watch the games over in Japan. They've played some games in Taiwan, some in South Korea. It's a party. It is part of, right? It's part of the culture in a lot of countries. Great to see. As someone who's an inveterate baseball fan, I think it's great to see.
Yeah, and they cheer like they do at a soccer game, and you have to stand and sing at soccer games so they don't nod off in a 0-0 overtime thriller. We'll move on to our next topic. As he saves the world, Peter, you're going to love this one. President Trump is simultaneously saving college sports from itself. Trump promised to write an executive order that will, quote, save all the problems. Trump held a roundtable at the White House to address the future of college sports. In attendance that day was Marco Rubio, Ron DeSantis, and the legendary coach, Nick Saban. And this is what Saban had to say from the East Room in the White House at the big meeting to save college sports.
I'm getting there.
We need to develop an effective system of revenue sharing, authentic name, image, and likeness, authentic being you have marketing value, which now we have collectives, which just create opportunities, which just become pay for play. Eligibility issues where we have guys playing 6, 7, and 8 years. So you have 25 and 26-year-old people playing against 18 and 19-year-olds, which is not healthy. Transfer rules. We have over 4,000 people in the portal. Fans don't like it. Support groups don't like it. It's not really healthy for players in graduation to transfer several times in your career.
What do you think?
Peter, your reaction?
I think it's great. You know, Jim, you've covered college sports your whole career. You know where it's headed. We're going to have complete athletic departments closed. I mean, colleges themselves, enrollments are down for colleges. So I think somewhat out of COVID, but just where the trends are going, some are down double digits. So financially, these schools, they're headed off a cliff. So, and this system is completely out of control. You talked to your boy, Carson Beck, who was the quarterback in the national championship game. He's what Saban referred, 26 years old, hadn't gone hadn't been enrolled for the last 2 years. That is a
2
broken,
years.
it's a broken system. So by the president holding that forum, I mean, everybody knew about this, but it really, and with everything that's going on, it really puts it front and center. This being the reality of politics and everything, is anything going to happen? Is, like he said, the president said, my executive order will get sued. There is, what's it called? The SAVE Act? Not the SAVE Act, I'm sorry. That's the voting one, right? It's similar. There's
Yeah.
legislation also,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah,
similar
Trump's
to the
plan
SAVE
calls for
Act.
federal legislation to restore order in regards to NIL and overall economics. All right, so here's my reaction to college sports. They can suck it, and I'll tell you why. Because they decided to let their white guilt and decades of money piling up in dark rooms at universities get to them, and to hold off the mob, they started just throwing money out the window of the limousine and letting people fight for it in the streets. And now they're surprised that it's a free for all. Wait a minute. You had no oversight, no guardrails in place, and you just opened up the vault and said, how much do you want? And now you got kids transferring every 6 months, not going to class. Now you're creating all kinds of havoc inside locker rooms because the punter and the quarterback go out for pizza. The quarterback's on a $2 million deal. Nobody knows who the punter is. The bill comes, the punter looks at the quarterback like, you got this right because you're making $2 million. Then the quarterback's like, why do I always have to pay? What, who's gonna help these kids do their taxes, Pete? Is somebody gonna explain to these kids, you don't really get $2 million. You get $1.3 million. And now you've spent $3 million. You can't pay off your tax bill. Now you're going to come take mama's house and your shiny Hummer in the parking lot. Who's going to tell these 19-year-old kids, you don't just keep getting this money? And now they're playing everybody. I love that they're just playing the universities against each other because they get exactly what they sow. They did this. They released it. They let the green genie out of the bottle. And now it's a complete mess. It's chaos. They thought they were fixing something. They were trying to placate these guys. And now you have agents and you have family, friends, and advisors telling these kids to jump schools. You will eventually have a guy that plays 6 years at 6 different schools and makes more money each time. We've already seen it, right? The quarterback from Duke, who now is going to Miami, he didn't want to go in the NFL draft because he was going to make more money at Duke. And then Miami, because Brock is, or Carson Beck is finally leaving at the age of 27. They needed a quarterback. They said, we'll give you $6 million. Duke was giving him $4 million. So it's a complete mess. But Pete, this was so predictable. You're just going to throw money into the air and you're shocked that now it's just chaos in the streets. Are you kidding me? Suck it. Those guys, they get it. And Saban, the only thing I can say about Saban is he saw it coming and said, I am out. I've won all these national championships at 3 different schools. Listen, Saban saw it. He said, I'm not going to some 17-year-old's house and negotiating over his coffee table with him for what he might do for me in 3 years down the road. I'm not doing it. I'm walking away. I have too big a name. I've accomplished too much. So I give him credit for that. But this was all lip service at the White House. Sorry, there's nothing Trump can do that can fix this. You can write all the executive orders. It's going to get clogged in the courts, and it's going to change so much. And conferences are going to continue to break up, and players are going to continue to jump from team to team. You watch, somebody's going to do it in season now. They're going to jump. The Ohio State quarterback's going to jump the week before the Michigan game, put it on the maize and blue, and play against his team. It's going to happen. You know why? The same thing. Every time you have a question in sports, Pete, what's the answer? The answer to all of your questions is money.
It's money.
Follow the money.
So Saban story, I get someone who knew Saban said that's exactly why he got out of the game. He said when recruits would come, he'd have them over the house. His wife would go with the mother. I don't know. Let's face it. A lot of these kids there's no father. His wife would go with the mother, and the wife would assure her, the mother, "Are you going to take care of my kid? What's his head?" And then Saban would go with the kid and say, "Here's the plan for you. Going to your classes. Here's the plan for your conditioning." He said his last few years, all they each wanted to know is, how much are you going to pay me?
Yeah.
Nothing about education, nothing about.
Listen, but Pete, when I was 17, if I'd been good enough and Nick Saban walked into my living room and he's got a bag of money in his hand, that's all I'm looking at. I'm 17, right? I want to buy a new car,
right?
And you got $2 million in a bag. I'm not even blaming the kids for it, because as adults, we're supposed to protect children from themselves, from harm. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't have paid them, but they were already getting paid. This BS about, oh, we just want to give them a few bucks, they can buy a pizza on a Friday night. They're getting a stipend. They're getting $1,600 a month already to ply their trade at a university. And by the way, they get passed through all their classes. They don't have to, like you and I had to register and hope we could get into the right class. And we're taking classes at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. They don't do that. They take all their classes in the athletic department. Their tests are proctored on the road in the Hilton ballroom. You're telling me that they are going to the same college that you and I went to? It's not true. They get all their free medical. They get promotions. They get marketing. They get media training. They get every nutrition, all the medical care, room and board. They get everything. So don't even stop this BS about we were taking advantage of them and they were getting paid. And I always use this analogy. Do you know how many tickets Texas A&M sold for football games before Johnny Manziel was there? The answer is all of them. Do you know how many they sold after Johnny Manziel left Texas A&M? All of them. They're not coming to see Johnny Manziel. They're coming to watch Texas A&M football, and Johnny Manziel happened to be the quarterback. Whoever the quarterback was at Texas A&M, they would have sold out all of the tickets. Now you can argue they sold more Manziel jerseys than they would if it was just some guy named Joe Smith who was an average quarterback. That you got an argument with me. But don't tell me that Johnny Manziel made Texas A&M football relevant, because we already know they sell out every single game. The 12th man, these guys, they're getting too much credit for what they think they're doing. These universities have spent 100 years building up their football program, the traditions, the histories, the stadiums. These kids didn't have anything to do with that, and they show up now 5 minutes to midnight and want a glass of champagne. So stop me with all of this. They all deserve each other, if you ask me. I don't have any sympathy for either side of this.
Well, probably another example. What did UCLA pay Alama Leva last year? Was it $12 million? This is UCLA, who I'm thinking you would know this. Their athletic department's in probably as bad financial shape as probably anybody's. It was just a total panacea, right, to join the Big Ten for a that was money well spent, right? That $12 million.
Yeah. Alama is a perfect poster boy for this. He goes to Tennessee and gets a bunch of money, and he plays pretty well, and they go to the college football playoff. But then he wants to renegotiate. He wants more money, and Tennessee tells him to suck it. They're like, forget it. We already did a deal with you. You're good, but you're not great. And then he makes the statement, oh, I think I want to go home. He grew up in Long Beach in California. I think I want to go home and be closer to family. All right. So you got to give it to him, because what are you going to do? Call him a liar? So he goes to UCLA, and they're awful, and he's terrible during the year. What happens at the end of the year? He says, well, maybe I'm going to go to a different school. I'm going to transfer again. Wait a minute. Are you sick of your family? What, you went home for your family and now after 6 months, now you're done with your family. So that just revealed himself. And then his knucklehead little brother, I think, is down at Tulane, and he tried to do the same thing, and they sued him to live up to his contract. That's the other thing about this. But you got 19-year-old kids are signing their name on a contract, right? It's a contract. It's a 2-year deal in most cases. And after one, they're like, I'm out of here. And they just ignore the contract. So you got teenagers getting sued by universities all over the country because they're not fulfilling you sign your name on a contract, you have to live up to the terms of the agreement. But these guys are 19. So you have these giant institutions that are writing these contracts with a room full of lawyers. And here's a 19-year-old goes, yeah, whatever, pay me. And then a year later, he's like, oh, this team's going to pay me more. I'm going to go over here. And all of a sudden lawyers are coming. What? Now I got to hire a lawyer? I don't have a tax guy. I don't have a lawyer. Now my uncle is advising me. He used to run a body shop. He's my advisor. It's a mess. And they did it to themselves. They peed down their own leg. It's awesome.
Into the wind.
Could I get I know Tommy gave us the buzzer 5 minutes ago. Real quick, get off my lawn moment, because we have to have one in every show, given our age. And you guys might both remember this. Mike Garrett we're all from the same TV station in Orange County, California in the early 90s. And Mike Garrett came on the show. He was, I think, recently became the AD at USC at that time. Mid-90s, does that ring about right, Jim? And this issue of paying athletes was percolating. So he came on the show, and Jim, if you were hosting, whatever, asked him, Mike, what do you think about this idea of paying the athletes? They say the athletes are being used by these schools. And Mike Garrett goes, I played for USC, one of the most storied, greatest educational institutions. I won the Heisman Trophy. I was on national television every day. You use me again like that all the time. But the culture has changed. That was 30 years ago.
Yeah, and I wanted to get this in because it's so appropriate. Have you ever heard of the book, Pete, Strega Nona?
No.
Sounds
So
Italian.
Strega Nona is an Italian folktale. Strega Nona, loosely translated, Nona is the Italian word for grandmother, but in this case, it's grandmother witch because she has magical power. So here's the story in a nutshell. Strega Nona, the grandmother, has a magical pasta pot. And if she says the right words, the pasta pot will make pasta. It'll keep making pasta until she says magical words again, different ones, to stop the pot. So she has a guy working for her named Big Anthony. And Big Anthony one day is in the fields and he looks in the window and sees Strega Nona starting the pasta pot. And he hears the words. But he doesn't stick around to hear the words she says to stop the pot. So a while later, Strega Nona has to leave town for the day to go visit a friend over the hill. Big Anthony sneaks in, pulls the pasta pot down, and says the magic words. And the pasta pot starts making pasta. And Big Anthony eats the pasta. But he can't stop the pot, and it keeps making pasta. Pretty soon it carries him out of the room. Down the road, it goes into the village. The villagers are putting up boards and mattresses trying to stop the pasta. Finally, Strega Nona comes back over the hill, sees what's happening, walks over, says the magic words, and the pasta pot calms down. Do you know what she does then? The town is filled with pasta. Everybody's upset. There's been destruction. She turns to Big Anthony and hands him a fork. So this is what I say to the university presidents and the greedy ADs and those selfish players. Fork it. Eat it. I hope you suck on it.
We just needed the Strega Nona metaphor to crystallize it.
Strega Nona.
One of the things, Tommy, help me out with this, Peter. We found a graphic for college sports on a different topic this week that I wanted to share with you. The graphic is about, because obviously we have the trans issue now in collegiate sports.
Oh.
It's a guy wearing a T-shirt. It says on the front of it, it's a graph, Peter, and it says testicular injuries in women's sports since, and it shows 2016 to 2020, 0. Then there's a spike, 2020 to 25, and then right back down to 0. All right, let's move on to the let's move on to the World Cup.
So lost with
Begins in 90
Stregonona.
days now. Iran's participation in the summer's World Cup is obviously called into question with what's going on in the Middle East. We talked about this already, and you and I talked about it last week, and I said, they're coming. It's the World Cup. So now the sports minister for Iran says, under no circumstances could we ever play in this tournament, which sounds pretty serious until you find out that FIFA says they've heard nothing from Iran. Iran has not told them they're not playing in the tournament. So listen, when I get an invitation to a wedding, do you know what I do? Nothing. But I tell everybody I may go, I might not go, I'm not going, I am going, but I never RSVP. So I keep my option open as long as I possibly can. And I just string it out to see if I'm going to get a better option. And to me, like Iran, I'm not talking about the entire country. I'm talking about the clerics, the theocracy, the ruling governing bodies in Iran. These people are known liars, manipulators. They delay, they procrastinate, they throw knuckleballs when you ask them a direct question. And these soccer players, they have no idea. They've earned the World Cup. It takes 2 years to earn a berth in the World Cup. It can make you a national hero. And I think in Iran, they're saying, well, we're going to play, but how do we not play and glorify the United States? Because the tournament, all 3 of their games in pool play will be in the U.S. So again, I ask you, Pete, are they coming or are they not coming?
I think they're coming. And by the way, Jim, the first 2 games, I think, will your former backyard. I think they're at SoFi. They're in L.A., their first 2 games. And it's a very good, obviously.
And then the last one in Seattle.
Exactly. And they're very, obviously, they qualified for the World Cup. They're a very good team. Remember, the U.S. had to beat Iran in the last game of the first round, right, to make it to the knockout round in 2022. A very good team. How's this for irony? If they don't come, Iraq comes. I thought last week it was Qatar, but now it's Iraq that would how it for that reason alone. Because I'm pretty sure that's still a pretty big hostility, Iran and Iraq. For that reason alone, they're going to come. They can look magnanimous. I think they're coming. That it's the rule. Obviously, who's ever in charge, they're the ones who would say. But I think they're coming. My short answer.
Check out what our
Iraq
esteemed
Iran
president said.
The Hatfields and the McCoys of the Middle East, Iran and Iraq. So how about this then? Yeah, so we're all waiting to tell us whether they're coming or not. Meanwhile, Trump says, you're welcome to come, but I advise that you shouldn't come for your own safety. And talk about a curveball. What is Trump saying? Is he saying he wants them to come? Or is he, I think if they don't come, I think he's fine. He'd want to have to deal with it. But what is he trying to say? What's the message here, Pete?
Well, he does have a tendency sometimes to change his mind or change his messaging. So that was because I think he had said earlier, or maybe that is his first. Well, he also said, "I don't care." Was that the end?
Yeah,
that's the truth.
That was the first one.
He said,
"I don't care."
I don't care.
Then he said, "You're welcome to," and now he says, "But now I advise you not to come."
He nailed all the answers.
You know what? Normally, when somebody gives that many mixed messages on a simple topic, I date them.
If you fill in all the circles on a multiple choice, are you right or wrong?
I think that was his second best quote of the week. The best one was when at the forum, right? On the future of college athletics, when he eviscerated that poor guy with the kid who's playing college baseball. He goes, Mr. President, and as someone who has a kid who plays a very high level in Division I college baseball, and Trump goes, I've never heard of him. I've never heard of you. Do you know about this? I didn't even look at him. He looked at the crowd. I never heard of the kid. Never heard of you. And by the way, the kid plays for Maryland. He's a pitcher. He has an 18 ERA. Poor father. he took a shot.
All right, to
Yep.
put a bow on it, until Iran tells FIFA we're not coming, they're coming, and the American crowd will give them standing ovations as they go 3 and out
Absolutely.
in pool play, and head home because they're just not that. And you're right, Iraq is the backup, but if Iraq might qualify in a playoff right now, a play-in game, if they qualify, so if Iran says we're out and Iraq qualifies on their own, it's the UAE that comes in behind them. And I was in the United Arab Emirates this last year, and they've become so westernized. It's amazing. They love America. They love the United States. I think that'd be awesome for diplomatic relations. And you can see they're on the same side right now of epic fury, because both are getting attacked. So I would like to see that
Count
happen,
on them more than I
still
would on
believe
England.
Yeah, I think the Iranians are coming. All right, let's move along to off the grid. This is the most important topic of the whole week. The Atlanta Hawks canceling the strip club promo, Magic City Monday. So if you didn't see the story, and I know you did, Peter, here's the deal. So Magic City is a iconic gentleman's club in Atlanta. Everybody knows it. Everybody talks about it. All the players go. Anybody who's ever been to Atlanta on a business trip has wandered through there with a stack of ones in their jacket. And so the Atlanta Hawks, they celebrate anything big in Atlanta. And it could be music, it could be food, it could be anything. In this case, they did Magic City Monday. Now, listen, there were not going to be any dancers, lingerie. There was no videos. It was going to be chicken wings, some celebrities and dignitaries, and saying, you know what, tongue in cheek, we know who we are. We're a real city. And this gentleman's club has been there for a long time. And they've been putting these poor girls through medical school for decades.
Jessica Rabbit included.
So nobody had a problem with this promo, except for one guy in San Antonio, Luke Cornett, who plays for the Spurs. Now, Luke Cornett is an NBA player. He's also a Christian. So to him, he said, hey, this goes against my ideals. And to Luke Cornett, I would say, well, dude, you're not even playing in this game. You're not even the opponent. Now, it's your league. It's the NBA, and you're allowed to speak your mind. You're a Christian. This is something that you don't see favorably. So he said it. But that was the only guy I heard that had a problem with it. And immediately the NBA sees the writing on the wall. All the liberal media goes crazy and jumps on this story. I don't even know if Luke Cornett really meant it to the degree in which it was reported. He might have just thrown it out in the middle of an interview, said, yeah, I don't think they should do it or whatever. And then it's carried and the media blows it up. And then the NBA gets nervous. So they call the Hawks and say, hey, you can't do it. And they pull it back. The Hawks still had a celebration. They just couldn't call it Magic City Monday, whatever. But the NBA says this doesn't match our family-friendly image. I'm sorry. When you watch a promo for the NBA, is there anything about family-friendly image? It's guys dunking on each other and teabagging the guy who's fallen underneath them, and then there's fights everywhere. These guys are getting arrested. They're fathering children out of wedlock. Excuse me, I worked in the NBA. Family-friendly? Are you kidding me? Peter, back in the day, I would stand outside the Clippers locker room, and it was on a corner. And on one side, outside the locker room, there's one door, and there's a little rope right there, and it's all the wives or girlfriends with the children of the players. And the players would come out after games and say hi. But it was funny, they would never look at the girlfriend or the wife or the mom. They were always looking at their phone and saying hi to the kids and just, yeah, baby, I'll meet you at home. I got stuff to do. I'm, going out, the boys, whatever. And then she takes the kid and wanders down the hallway. Then the guy walks around the corner to where the cars are parked underneath Staples Center. And there's his Range Rover with another girl in the passenger seat. And he gets in and drives away. And one of the things I hated most about working in the NBA, a little bit in Major League Baseball, not to the same extent, was standing outside the locker room waiting to go in to do interviews next to the family and the children, the wives, the girlfriends, who think you're the only one, or at least they're assuming they're the only one. And then watching the same guy walk around the corner and get in a car with another woman. And it I don't know. It's just me. It's one of the things I hate most in life are cheaters. And then these guys, as they drive out, there's thousands of fans banging on their car windows for autographs and pictures. You're the greatest. You're the greatest. And I would just sit there and say, if you only knew what these guys are really like, maybe you'd still cheer for them. Maybe you wouldn't, but you're never going to know what they're really like.
I mean, here's the NBA, which spoons the communist Chinese, which then in the last year spoons gambling interests and has a massive gambling problem. No league has had more guys, right, like suspended and up on charges, Chauncey Billups, on and on. And they're making a stand on this. It's a cultural incident. It wasn't strippers get in free, was it? It wasn't like get 6 pole dancing lessons for. It was. This is that place, like you said, is famous. It's embrace a little bit of the, not the wild side, but I mean, just get real, right? And like, was it a Monday night or a Tuesday night? Have at the promotion.
Yeah.
Please.
So, and here's
Luke
the thing
Cornett.
I would say.
You worried about Luke Cornett?
I would say, Peter, here's what I would say to Luke Cornett and the NBA. What are you going to do next time there's a Pride night? Because I'm pretty sure if you're a Christian, that probably goes against your values as well. But you're going to let that one go. In fact, they let it go constantly. There's a Pride night every 48 hours in the NBA and the WNBA. But nobody has a problem with that. You know why? Because if you did, you'd get criticized by the liberal media, right? They're all over you. This one, nobody has a problem, that they canceled this. And the folks in Atlanta had no problem with it. Everybody thought it was fun. Isn't this supposed to be a fun game? Was it offending someone? Come on.
I can tell you who it was not offending. Your friend Richard Hammer.
Of course, Dick. Where's his name?
A regular at Magic City.
Is his name on there?
Dick Hammer, one tough SOB. I put it at the bottom.
Oh, it's down at the bottom. Okay, my screen's cutting it off. All right. Let's move on to our walk-off.
I'm glad I broke
March
that
Madness
train of thought.
Gambling. That's all right. We were done with that one anyway. So the American Gaming Association, Pete, is estimating that this year's NCAA basketball tournament will see over $3 billion wagered, which is a new record. In fact, the AGA says that betting on college basketball has increased by, get this, 54% in just the last 3 years. You think this country has a problem with gambling? The $3.3 billion, just to put it in context, is more than double what was bet on the Super Bowl. And keep in mind that this total only takes into account legal wagers at licensed sports books, not bookies and not prediction markets, which has got to be more than another $1 billion on top of it. So is this a problem or is this just America?
Did you say, does this podcast have a problem with gambling? Oh, you said this country.
No, this podcast encourages gambling.
Sorry, I interrupted you. Go, Pete.
It doesn't take into account office pools too, which is got to be added all that up. Yeah, and boy, that like you mentioned, the prediction markets, that was it Kalshi. I mean, that thing has just absolutely taken off. So, but the increase they say this year, Jim, was only 6%. So 54 over 3 years, but maybe it's slowing. Maybe we're souring. No, I don't think so. By the way, my God, I have a Cinderella team they're out of North Carolina. I watched them win the championship the other day. They're the smallest enrolled school, and they were in it last year, and now I can't think of their name. And they're back this year. So getting away from the gambling, I'm sorry. They are, and I didn't write it down. I can't even remember the name. They're in like the Big South.
Let me help you out. It's Duke.
No, it's High Point. Have you heard of them? High Point.
Yeah.
Enrollment under 5,000. So what odds can I get on them? Let me check Kalshi right now.
I
think they won like 30 games this year.
It's not round one. It's round two. It's not that round of 64. It's the round of 32 where you get the big upsets, especially taking an 8 over a 7 because they're basically matched. And a lot of people just take the higher seeds. So take the 8s over the 7s. I do it every year, and usually 2 of them win. Before we go, Peter, we have to extend an apology. We received an avalanche of angry emails about a disgusting act that appeared on our show last week. Midway through our show, Pete was the victim of a sexual assault by his canine roommate. Since the dog is under 18, we cannot reveal her name. We're going to see the video, Pete, and then the only question I would ask is what happened? There it is. And Pete shies away, but at first he stays. He sees the tongue coming, and then he leans away, which tells me, Pete, that this is a common practice in your household. Look at Yubi going in there. Zuby, what's that dog's name?
Zuby is her name. I bow to no person in my love of my dogs. As you know, they've been a massive part of my life, and so thank you for sharing that with our audience,
with the public.
Yeah, we're all animal lovers. We love it. That dog, Son of Sam, has been on every show since you've been here. Let that dog outside. All right.
She
Peter,
spent the 10 hours before that eating my clothes, eating the house.
Hey, give us an update on Oil America and the Japanese game. I'm not fond
Last
of a
I
monitor.
saw
What's
it,
the score?
8-5 in the 9th inning. Oil America over Japan.
All right. Go
Yeah.
down Venezuela.
How's that?
Right. That is going to do.
Well, here's a
Tommy,
team.
I know
Their
you're
number
off
9
camera.
hitter is Jackson Chourio.
Sweet.
Tommy, you got anything to leave us with tonight? I know we didn't see you the whole show. We did hear you a few times.
I know it had to be when your technical director, producer can't get the camera going. I think it could cause a lack of confidence,
Yeah.
but I'm coming back stronger next week.
I wouldn't say it's our smoothest show. I forgot the disclaimer. I'm in a basement in Bozeman, Montana. I forgot my headphones. Why do you guys tell me to put on the headphones? You couldn't hear anything the whole show. I'm sure my microphone's pretty hollow. Anyway, all right, we'll try again. It is the internet, so we are not out of time, but we're out of topics, and you're out of patience. So for everybody, Weitzner, Catlin, Dick Hammer, the Magic City Gentlemen's Club, and Pete's Sexually Aggressive Mutt, I'm Jim Watson. After further review, we'll be back next week, and apologies again. I really wanted to get in that highlight reel from the WNBA of a made layup, but we just didn't have time. So next up on the main stage, it's two guys named Kenny and Jim. It's Loggins and Messina. We'll see you next week, maybe, on After Further Review.